You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. I hope you are keeping well out there in COVID land. All across the globe, we are suffering through this fucking pandemic. Good luck to you, wherever you are. I hope nobody that is close to you is sick, and if they are, well, Godspeed. The conversation you're about to tune into is with one of the gods of British grind. It is Daz Brookes, and this is a conversation that I actually never thought would take place, but here we are. It's a very strange year, but there is an upside to it because I get to talk to wonderful guitarists such as Daz. Daz, of course, is one of the masterminds behind Benediction, and they're back after 12 years with an album called Scriptures. I love it. It's just beyond words, actually, at the moment. It's one of my favourite albums of the year thus far. It's a big statement, I get that. But it is. It's how it is. It drops on the 16th of October via the label that seems to have just about every killer band so far this year in terms of releases. Nuclear Blast. Do so many interviews with bands that are a part of the Nuclear Blast family. They're doing something right, aren't they? Anyway, the conversation with Daz covers a lot of ground. So I hope you enjoy it. Here he is. Hey, Daz, it's Andy Mackay-Smith calling for our chat. How you going?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Mate, I'm not too bad, actually. We've just come off a public holiday, mate, so I've had the kids home when they would ordinarily be at school, so you may feel my pain if you got kids.
Absolutely. I had kids that have grown up and gone away, so I'll remember the pain, though. Don't worry about that.
How's your day been otherwise, mate? I take it you've had other things to do as well?
Yeah. Rui's over with me at the minute. We're just chewing through some tunes and trying to come up with some new material, because obviously during lockdown there's not a lot else to do, is there? So, we're spending a bit of time together writing some new material.
Well, look, first of all, congratulations on what you've both done here on Scriptures. I don't like saying a return to form because you guys were always in form. That's the thing about you guys together. I mean, you've just been making phenomenal British grind. Benediction are essential listening in the catalogue of British grind greats.
Wicked, man. Thank you.
I think these days, we've almost got to a point. I'm in my 40s. Where death metal has almost become dad rock. You know what I mean? It's kind of got to this point now where all these death and metalcore bands appeal to the people in their teens and 20s. But I just feel it's extremely important, mate, for not just heavy metal, and work with me here when I say this, but for music in general, for you guys to be back at this particular time. That's cool, as well. Man. So you must be very happy with what it sounds like, mate, because I've had it on half the day.
Mate, absolutely. I mean, it's exactly what we intended to do, to go back to the roots, an old school Benediction album with an old school cover of modern day production. Everything that we aimed for on this album, we've pulled out the bag, man. We're really, really happy with it.
Was the album written over the past 12 years? Because it is your first album since Killing Music was released in 2008. Or did you write it recently?
No, mate, it's been written over the last 12 years. I mean, some of the, Stormcrow and Scriptures in Scarlet basically were written 10 years ago. They've been amended slightly, but I mean, obviously not the lyrics. The lyrics have all come in since Dave came back. But a lot of the riffs are stuff that's been done over the last 12 years. Because although we haven't recorded in 12 years, we've still been writing material and bouncing ideas backwards and forwards. And we've had a full library of stuff we could tap into. But yet some of it's 12 years old, some of it's 12 minutes old. But fortunately, being in Benediction, it doesn't really make any difference whether it was written then or now. It's still going to sound like Benediction. There's only one band that sounds particularly like us. We don't sound like the rest of them. So it doesn't really matter whether it was written yesterday or last year. It's going to sound like Benediction, and that's exactly what we aim for when we write the music.
Yeah, bang on point. I agree with you absolutely on that. I remember getting those samplers back in the day. I remember the Death is Just the Beginning samplers in the 90s. And that's actually where I discovered. Well, that's actually where I discovered you guys and a whole bunch of bands. Because I mean, where else was Benediction and Carcass and all these other great bands? I know Carcass. I don't think were on Nuclear Blast, but you know what I mean. All these great bands.
Yeah, they are.
They were they on Nuclear Blast back in the day though, in the early 90s?
No, they were on Earache back in the day, but they're on Nuclear Blast now.
Yeah, I've just got their new material actually, and Bill and Co have knocked it out of the park with their stuff as well. So
yeah, man, yeah.
That's what I'm saying is that it's so important for music, and I've had a chat to Bill kind of about the same subject, but for you guys all to be back and doing what you do, because we've missed you.
Yeah, man. Well, we've missed it too, man. But for me, from a personal point of view, I think death metal's lost its originality at the minute. It's all everything seems to be a competition to see who can be the fastest or the most technical. Agreed. Or the most perfect sounding on, like a machine almost. And it's kind of lost its heart and its groove. And I guess Benediction, we're just trying to bring that back and just show the people it doesn't have to be the fastest to be the best. It doesn't have to be the most technical to be the best. You know what I mean? I'm no great guitar player, but I feel I can write a tune, and that for me is a better way to be.
And you sound like Daz, if you know what I'm saying. When you play, I know it's you.
Yeah, mate. But that's the way we want it. The other thing is we could have had a big sustained period where we're going having guitar lessons and we're doing this business, but then you start sounding like other people. The good thing is about us is because we found our style and our niche, we've just stuck to that. So when it comes to writing new material, we don't have to dig too far because it's inside of us already, and the material just comes out naturally. We're not influenced by anyone else. We're influenced by Benediction. It's kind of our thing. So it's we're going to grab onto it and we're going to keep flying that flag, man.
Fantastic. I guess it might be too early to ask this question. I know you've already sort of hinted at it, but a new album, hopefully, or when I say new album, an album after this one here, Scriptures, you intend for another album to be released?
Oh, without doubt, yeah. Me and Rui's here with me now. We're banging through material. We've got ideas for at least another 7 or 8 songs at the minute. And we're firing through them, man. But obviously, we don't want to start recording too quickly and then step on the toes of Scriptures, But yeah, we got a whole bunch of ideas. We've still got stuff left from the Scriptures demos, and we got endless amounts of material at the minute. We're just firing through it and trying to find the best stuff, because the way this has been received, this album is, we're getting top marks and death metal album of the year all over the place.
Yep.
It's absolutely incredible. So we got to make sure now when we follow it up that we don't just follow it with something that's mediocre. Not that we've ever done that. We've never released anything that we've not been necessarily happy with. We're our own worst critics. So, but yeah, we've got to make sure the next one's right now, especially at our age.
I'm hearing you, brother. Don't worry about that. And I imagine you've been asked this question on every call, but was there any hesitation to release the album during COVID? Because you're right, it's an incredibly strong album. It's a fantastic Benediction album, and it's an excellent death metal album. But like so many releases, I just have I just hope it reaches the ears of impressionable listeners, and this sort of music really needs to be played live, in my opinion. So, were you ever hesitant? Were you hesitant to release it during this period?
No, not really. No, I mean, unfortunately for us, we recorded this back in November, December last year, and it was due to come out in April, just as all this shit kicked off.
Oh yeah.
And then it was put back to June, and then it was put back to August. But we didn't want it to sound old, so we decided that regardless of this COVID, we're going to release it. We're going to release it, and hopefully then the kids can still get. I mean, it's different now. You have to tour, of course. You do. Benediction's a live band, but with computers and the internet, we still feel that even though it's been released at a time where we can't tour, it's still going to reach people, and hopefully it'll just feed their anticipation for us playing live, sort of thing, And while all that's going on, and there's a big build up of emotion or whatever else, then we're going to carry on writing for the next album. So hopefully we get to hit double hard on all this crap finishes,
Yeah, you reach in cricket terminology, mate, you'll reach a double century fairly quickly. I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. I don't just want to stand in front of the stumps and knock the ball away, you know what I mean? I'm going for scores, man.
Yeah, well, you're at least at 35, mate. I can tell you that right now, mate. You've only faced 41 balls, brother, and you're at 35, so you're doing well.
Well, that's wicked, because I got really at the other end of the crease, so I know I'm going to be all right with this.
Hey, speaking of band members, so I think Giovanni, by the way, has done a tremendous job with the percussion.
Tell me about it.
And I think the key thing with you guys is that the drummer cannot try to overpower yourself and Rui. It just can't happen, because it'll ruin the marvelous tone that you've got. And he didn't do that. He's played right in the pocket. But look, you can tell I'm an old school death and black metal fan, and I know Barker was in the band for a period of time. So was he ever considered to be brought in for the recording?
No. Addiction, first and foremost, is a bunch of brothers, and it's not just about the music. You've got to fit in with everything we do and how we act and whatever else. And also the thing with Barker is he's too good. Maybe he's too much of a machine. He's too, and we didn't want that. We wanted an ingredient, not as you say, not something to overpower. You know, because and I think Barker he just tried too much maybe. But we've had some good drummers, but since Neil, I think Gio is the first drummer that's just come in. He's just felt right. He's got that groove. He's got that feel.
Agreed.
You know, and I just think he was the perfect fit. And I guess that was the final nail in getting this album done. You know, he was the final piece of the puzzle, I guess.
Do you write with a drum machine like a lot of guitarists do? Do you sit at home and sort of work out the patterns, if you like, and then and Gio just does his own thing over the top, or do you ask him to follow?
And me and Rudy write it all on Cubase. Sit at home. Obviously, in the old days, we would write in the rehearsal room and with the microphone hanging from the CD, going onto a mini disc, and you get it back home. You couldn't understand the fucking thing. It was just a noise. But now, obviously, with computers and that, we write it all on drum machines and Cubase, and then I would give it to Gio. Normally, he would have more time to put his own bits and pieces in, because he was only in the band for a couple of months before recording, God bless him. So he had his work cut out, so he couldn't really stamp his authority on it. I mean, with the new stuff, I'm going to give him the files, and then just tell him if there's any bits he wants to do his own little dance on, he can, you know. He can add his own little stamp, but again, we don't want any instrument or any part of the band to overpower the rest. You know, everybody's talking about Dave Ingram on this album, but Dave Ingram's 20% of this band. You know, Gio's is equal part as him, and same with me, Ruby, and Dan. So we're all an equal partnership in this.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dave there, and was he asked to rejoin the band after? Because it's been 21 years, I think, since he was last in the band in terms of a recording. Because was he asked to rejoin because Dave was the other Dave Hunt, was locked into things with and I always mispronounce that bloody band, Anal Nuthrak, I think it's pronounced.
Anal Nuthrak.
There you go. Yeah. Is that because?
Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck that means. It's like a Scrabble board, you know. Nobody knows what the fuck it means. The whole thing with that was Dave's busy with Nasrak, but obviously Mick writes all the music and lyrics and whatever else in America. So it's kind of an easier job for Dave, and he was going through his PhD, so he needed a lot of time to study for that. And then obviously when me and Ruby decided we're going to put this album together a couple of years ago. It became quickly obvious that Dave Hunt wasn't going to be able to commit the amount of time that you have to, before COVID, obviously, have to tour and, you know, promote and stuff. So it was clear he wasn't going to be able to do it. So he gave us, he asked us if we could wait for 2 years, which was a no-no.
Yeah.
So he gave us a 6-month window. He said, you know, I'm going to leave in 6 months. You get yourself another singer. Everybody goes away all friendly and everything's good. So originally I just phoned up Dave with the option of just doing a couple of gigs that was outside this 6-month window, just as a way of saying goodbye, because obviously when he left in 98 it was pretty abrupt.
Yep.
So the whole idea was he was going to come in, do a couple of gigs and then say goodbye to the fans, and we'd get a new singer in. But within half an hour of the phone call, you know, we were discussing demos and album covers and all sorts of shit. It was pretty immediate that he made it obvious he wanted to rejoin, and we've not looked back. To be fair, it's a breath of fresh air from an old dude, you know.
Yeah. You've kind of answered my next question, which was going to be, was it a bit interesting or even weird having Dave Ingram back in the band after so long?
It's weird, but in a good way. I mean, the first time we flew him over from Denmark to rehearse, obviously I'd not seen him in 20 years. So when I walked into rehearsal and he stood in the corner with his head tied back, standing in front of his microphone with his lyric sheet in front of him, it was really surreal and weird. But within seconds, it was back how it was, you know. It felt absolutely right. It felt comfortable. Me, Rui, and Dave back in there, and then you've got the energy of the two new boys. So I'm getting energy from the old guys and the new guys. So it's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah, I can hear it. And the production side of things too is you kind of mentioned this earlier in the conversation, but yeah, you've done a fantastic job at capturing what makes Benediction. So did you work with the producer, or did you guys just handle it yourselves?
No, we worked with the producer. We had a meeting with the producer initially and told him what we were looking for, and he agreed. So he wanted something that was not too polished, which was the same as us, but he was insisting that it had to be ultra tight. You know, in the past, if it's been a bit loose here and there, it's not really bothered us that much, you know, because it's almost, because we're a live band. Benediction's a live band first and foremost. The album stuff's it's a real pain in the tits. But it was obvious he wanted the same thing as us, you know. He wanted it sharp sounding. He worked us so hard, man. He would change my picks halfway through a song, so we're recording a song. He'd say, "Try this pick," and I'd be like, "Scott, you're having a laugh, man. What difference does a pick make?" And he'd say, "Just try it, man. Just try it." And we'd try it, and you know, don't tell him, but he was right. So I can't really complain about that. But yeah, he did an absolutely fantastic job on it. And to be fair, it's Benediction's name on the front, but it's Scott's name on the back, so it's as important for him to get it right as it is for us, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What's Scott's full name? Sorry?
Scott Atkins.
Scott Atkins. Who else has he worked with?
Cradle of Filth, Vader, to name two. I can't remember the rest.
Okay, well, Vader says it all, really. Yeah, I mean, that last couple...
Yeah.
If he helped Pete in those last couple of albums, man, that says it all with how he... how he was able to sort of get you guys, or help you guys achieve the sound that's already there. But look, as we know, you've mentioned, you know, you are a live band, but it's always it's a difficult thing to capture that vicious guitar sound that you've got in the studio and make it come across like as if it's, you know, jumping out of the speaker system, especially the diverse array of speaker systems we use these days. For example, I've been listening to you today whilst I was cooking for the kids on my iPhone speakers, which is basically just what I use 90% of the time anyway. But man, if you can sound good over these little piece of shit things, you know you've captured it. You've got it.
Yeah, that's exactly the aim, you know. Like he was insisting that everything was tight so you could hear every single note, which is kind of what we want, you know. We don't want to be a wall of noise, and like I said earlier, we don't want to be the fastest band or most technical band. We want you to hear what we're playing. He's absolutely drawn that out perfectly, man.
Yeah. So, mate, what have you been up to over the last decade or so?
To be honest, it's been a lot of things. It's been first and foremost, it was Neil leaving, and like I said earlier, it was difficult to find a drummer that we could nail down as ours. Then there was Rui moved away from Birmingham, and obviously he's my writing partner, so that made it a little bit more difficult. Then there's the fact that the Benediction, unfortunately for us, doesn't pay the bills. You know, in an ideal world, it would. We'd concentrate all our efforts on Benediction totally as we did when we were kids and we had no responsibilities. But you grow older, you get wife, you get kids, you get house. You know, all of a sudden your job becomes more important. So it became sort of more of a weekend gig, you know. So we'd work all week and then we'd go and fly off to all parts of the world on the weekend. So it just didn't leave a lot of time. And then you get to the gigs and the promoters just want to hear old stuff. They want to hear you play the classics. And so there was no real drive for us to do anything new. But, you know, we sat in a couple of years ago, me and Rui just said, you know, it's time, man. We can't keep playing the same sets and, you know, the same backdrop, and we've got to change it up. And like I say, we had a bunch of material that we've still been writing and sending across to each other. So we have been busy in that respect. But it was just impossible to do everything, you know, your family, your job, your band. Because, you know, like I say, it doesn't pay the bills. So, you know, maybe this one will. Maybe it's a 31-year. That'll be the 31st year, the breakthrough year.
31-year overnight sensation.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, where did they come from?
Well, in a way, I hope that happens for you, because there's going to be a lot of people that haven't heard of you. You know, there's going to be that, you know, those 25-year-olds that are right into metal. You know the type, don't you? Know, where the earplugs and shit in, and they wear the tattoos on their face and shit, and they're right into death metal. But if they hear you guys, it's like, you guys are the original gangsters of British grind. You guys are Bolt Thrower.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
And for them to have a new Carcass release and a new Benediction release, I think it's going to do something to them that they don't understand, because they're too busy listening to no shit on there. I love Suicide Silence, by the way, and these bands. I've spoken to these guys. You know, they probably would be mates if we hung around with each other for long enough. But you guys can bring a very different atmosphere to death metal that other bands just don't do. So I truly hope, mate, that and again, it's very important that I think this happens, that they understand the roots of the genre which is you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah, I really am hoping so. I mean, it's different for us because we, like I said earlier, we're not following any trends. We weren't following any trends when we first kicked this off because there was nobody else doing it. So, we're one of the first. So you're kind of treading new ground. Whereas I think a lot of bands now are just listening to what's happened in the past and or they're trying to recreate it or better it or whatever else. But we're just not. We're still doing exactly what we did. We've forging past foot ahead. You know what I mean? Making our own trails.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, you're right. It's important they know where it came from. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, and I think a big part of that too is the artwork that you've decided to go with, because it's just
mate,
old school.
it's beautiful.
I mean, you expect to see tattoos on forearms with that, man.
Yeah, I've no doubt. Yeah, I mean, originally when we spoke to the artist, again with the album, we tried to make it old school with the old school kind of sound and whatever else. But it was the same with the artwork. We went to the artist and said, it needs to be the old yellow and red logo. It needs to say Benediction on the front. It needs to be colourful. It needs to look good on a T-shirt, And I think it was his maybe third design or something, and he's fucking nailed it, man. I mean, he's got the good stuff on the left, the bad stuff on the right. He's got the nun holding the scriptures, with references to our past, and lyrics from the album and everything. He's just proper nailed it, and the colours are fantastic, man. They're going to look. I've just had my 12 inches sent through, my vinyl sent through, and the album cover looks amazing, man.
I bet,
I'm dead chuffed with it.
Yeah.
Chuffed.
I'm going to go totally old school and get the cassette because I love cassettes.
Yeah.
They just do it for me these days. You know what it is? It's because you get it. You're a parent. You're busy, right? So you just want to put music on for a period of time, and it's only going to last 25 minutes or so on one side.
Yeah.
And then it's cool. It's there, and that's the music that I listen to in the morning.
See, that's the difference with kids now. For me, they've got everything in the palm of their hands, so they'll play a track and they'll listen to it for 20 seconds and then get bored and then move on to something else. I'm the same as you. I used to love just getting an album, sitting on the bus on the way home and looking at the artwork and the thanks list and everything and just reading all, and then just getting on and sticking it on the deck and just sitting back and listening to it, not taking it off every 10 seconds, just listen to the whole thing front to back. And I don't think kids do that anymore. It's a shame, man, but, you're going to move with the times, I guess.
Yeah, I had a conversation, Michael Beanhorn, the producer that's worked with Ozzy and Marilyn Manson and Hole and God knows how many other bands, Korn.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with him 2 years ago about this exact thing because I've noticed that too, is that they don't know... Kids don't look at the CD booklet because they don't buy CDs and look at the thanks list to discover other bands. Look at your thanks list to discover all the other bands that you've toured with. So I could check them out at the local record store here or something like that. But, sorry, his point that he made was after I said that the playlist thing on Spotify and Apple Music and the like is driving users to just create playlists and therefore not worry about albums.
That's right, it's just too easy.
There's no impetus for the artist then to create albums, and I think that's the problem with a lot of the newer artists that are coming through. The thing is about albums, and this is a crucial point that you guys knew how to do. You perfect your songwriting by writing albums because you've got to put a package together. And Michael
Absolutely.
Michael also thought these days with these massive tour schedules that bands are being put on, because that's the only way a lot of bands are making money, the album's an afterthought. It's really just a promotional item for the live show, whereas with you guys, for example, you don't have weak material. Every album has got good killer riffs, well-produced, well-recorded, great vocals, great vocal cadence, great drums. It's all there. It's a package, and that's what I get concerned about with some of these younger bands that are coming through, and even some older ones, to be honest with you, are sort of come back in inverted commas. They're adopting this new methodology, which isn't working, I don't think. But your album is testament to the old school way of doing things.
Yeah, like I say, I used to love picking up the product. It wasn't necessarily what the album sounded like, or it was the whole thing. It was whether it was a gatefold or just a 12-inch, and how intricate the artwork was, and the whole thing interested me, not just the music. The whole package. And I think that's gone, and it's a shame. But I'm hoping people pick this up and just look at it and go, and they're more interested. That's the plan.
Mate, I better make this one my last question for you. Look, please tell me that once all this COVID bullshit has subsided, that Australia, that is, are on your number one or number two on the list for touring.
Mate, it has been for years, but we've just never been invited down.
Yeah, the bloody promoters.
It's ridiculous. But how ridiculous is that, We're only around the corner.
I can't understand that,
Yeah,
mate.
but
Yeah, there's some good
yeah,
promoters now, though. Yeah, that should get it.
well, if you know any good promoters, you speak to them and tell them that we would love to come down there, man. 100% we would.
I'm going to because I'm in touch with a few, and that baffles me, to be honest with you. Because I looked to see if you'd been here before, and now, that's, I guess, is a question. Have you been to Australia before?
No, I've not. We had offers back in the day. I think it was Modern Invasion. I think that was the company.
Correct.
They were going to get us down twice, and twice it fell through for whatever reason. I don't even remember why it fell through. But since then we've had nothing, no offers and no contact. And to be honest, this is the first interview I've done down there in 31
really?
years.
Okay, that's
how ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts, man.
Well, you were one of my favourite bands back in the day. It's just that I was too young to be active and to do anything. I wouldn't have known how to start with. I'm a journalist these days. I've been to uni and everything, so it's different for me now. I'm far more proactive, and I'm writing books and all sorts of things on heavy metal. And you guys are in it, man.
Oh,
I can
cool,
tell you
man.
that. You guys are in it.
Hey, well, yeah.
Well, once it's finished, Once it's finished, I'll contact Nuclear Blast and I'll get them to send a copy to you, mate. So I'll send it over to them.
Just contact me, man. You got my number now.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, I will, man. Yeah, because I'm trying to finish it as quickly as I can. I've done 600 interviews at this point and spoken to so many wonderful. And you know what I find, honestly, Daz, is you're all so fucking cool. As a fan, for me to talk to yourself and Carl and Bill and all these guys whose music it's easy to say grew up with, man, but it was extremely important to me as a kid because it was my outlet, along with playing football and cricket and stuff,
Yeah.
And
same
music,
here, man.
you get it, man. I liked fast cars, good-looking women, and heavy metal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, mate. In any order, yeah, absolutely.
It was pretty much that, and I'm a red-blooded male, mate, and it's just how it is, and still how it was. And to be honest, man, I'm happily married, man, but it basically still is like that, And
yeah, of course.
Heavy metal, man, like you're saying, man, we might be getting on in age, man, but it never leaves our souls.
No, mate. I'm still the same kid that I was when I was young. When I was at school, and it was my life, and everything I used to think about revolved around this, and it still does. And you know what? I've grown up with this, this man for 31 years, and I still, as I did in day one, can't stand rock stars. With a passion, I hate rock stars. The people that play the gig and then just sit backstage and, thinking about how many T-shirts they've sold, instead of going out and speaking to the kids, and getting to know them and finding out what they're thinking. And it's massively important to Benediction. It's like all this talking about streaming gigs. If we have to, then we'll have to. But Benediction ain't about standing in front of a camera and playing. It's about standing in front of people and connecting with the people, And it ain't just like, again, it's not just about being on stage. It's about having a drink with them before the gig and after the gig and talking to them. Because I'm a fan as well, And I really, really can't stand rock stars. I can't stand people that think because they're in the band they're better than you. Or that fucking really, really winds me up. I've had people. I had one guy in a really famous black metal band. Was on a festival, and he was backstage, and he's got all his makeup on, standing in front of this mirror, and he's really, really serious. We're not serious. He stood there and he went, "Hey, Daz, how do I look?" I'm like, "Mate, you look like a fucking idiot." Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't Danny, was it?
No, it wasn't Danny. But yeah, I've told him the same. Don't worry about that. But it's just the way they walk around with this air of arrogance and look who I am. And mate, I can't fucking stand it. And I'm 6'4" and I'm well positioned to tell him to shut the fuck up. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I had do you know Stuart Anstis at all? He used to be in Cradle about 25 years ago or so.
Probably.
Yeah, I had a chat with him about 3 or 4 years ago. It was easily my longest podcast episode. We spoke for 4 hours, and I probably get about I get hundreds of listens a month to that one alone. Just people finding it, because what it is, Cradle's sort of moving. I mean, I think they've sort of come a bit more full circle, and I'm not heaping shit on them here, by the way. The current guitarist they've got, I think Richard Shaw in particular, is a tremendous guitarist, and I've had a number of chats. Yeah, I've had a number of chats to him, but fuck, they lost their way for a period of time there. And just talking to Stuart about what fans don't know is that, like again, I'm not heaping shit on Danny here. I'm just sort of saying how I perceive things. Like, Danny's the rock star in that band, but Stuart's the one fucking writing all the material, and he gets kicked out of the band.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why it all went tits up with Nick Barker, wasn't it? Because
Yes.
The pair of them wanted to be the lead rock star. It's just, why is that important? Who's bothered who's driving the ship as long as the ship's going the right way? You know, I don't really understand that big rock star thing. And like I say, I've had people backstage that are, you know, giving it the big, and then I'll fucking tell them, man. I've got no problem with that. Does my head in.
I know it's interesting. I've met so many bands in similar positions to yourself, like the guys in Corrosion of Conformity and stuff, and every single person has just been so cool, man. Like the guys in Metal Church, you know. I mean, I'm just a fucking nobody, man. Like a 42-year-old. I don't even look like a metalhead these days because I'm a dad and, you know, journalist and all that sort of stuff. But but we just sit back and we just have beers and they ask me questions about Australia and rugby union or whatever, you know, it's just things that are interesting about Australia and the like, and it's just normal. You know what I'm saying? It's just normal, and that rock star thing, you know, it's just I couldn't handle it, and I got to tell you, Daz, the fucking rock star thing, to be honest, comes from some of the local bands, not the guys like you, who
it's true, yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that, and I'm like, I've said this. This is not new information for people listening on the podcast, but I don't do interviews with a lot of local bands anymore for that reason, because honestly, like, we don't know each other yet. We're connecting because I'm a fan and you're a wonderful musician, but I have to work so fucking hard in some of those interviews just to sort of get the normal person to sort of appear, if you know what I'm saying. You know, drop the rock star antic sort of thing, because we're just...
I can't do it.
Yeah, you're a creator and I'm a fan, and I'm trying to, you know, and I'm just trying to explore things and stuff and have a chat, and some of those conversations, man, I don't even post, you know.
The bottom line is, mate, we're both people, regardless of what we're doing. We're both people, so we should both treat each other with respect. And, you know, I mean, I don't mean me and you. I mean you and interviewer and interviewee. I don't understand this where, you know, the guy on the other end is thinking he's doing you a favour by talking to you. Well, it's clearly you're doing me a favour here, you know.
Oh, that's I can't. That's very strange.
No, I just can't get it.
No, I'm totally with you, man. It's that working class outlook that we've got. I think I'm working class, right? So, I mean,
me too.
You get it, then, man. We're just people doing what we're meant to do, you know, on God's earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a musician too, but I play covers, so I do, you know, all the usual shit, Imagine Dragons and Kylie and all that sort of stuff. Because it helps pay the bill. Well, not at the moment. It doesn't with bloody COVID because we can't.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, tell me about it.
You know,
it's horrendous, man.
Yeah, it's just that whole. I mean, I don't know, this whole bloody COVID thing, mate. You know, I mean, we can't stay locked up forever. That's all I'll say about that. I mean, I know it's serious, but for God's sakes, you know, I just saw, not to talk about politics, believe me, but Australia, we're just about to post to something like a $1 trillion deficit or something, like numbers that I've never heard of before. I probably got that wrong, but I saw the $1 trillion figure being bandied about by one of the newspapers, and I thought, fucking hell.
It's crazy, isn't it?
We're all going to be, you know, you guys are going to be paying for it over there as we're going to be paying for it over here for God knows how long now, you know, and I just hope that, you know, bands like yourself and promoters, mate, can get together and, mate, I can have a few bevies and shake your hand after one of your outstanding performances, because I have seen some of the performances on YouTube prior to the COVID thing, man, and you guys just fucking knock it out of the park, so...
we don't take ourselves too seriously, man. You know, and listen, don't think I don't realise every day how lucky I am. You know, don't worry about that. But that'd be good. If we could get a beer, that'd be fantastic, man, wouldn't it?
It'd be killer to catch up, man, especially after this chat. Yeah, it's so, as I say, man, it's so thrilling for me. You know, my inner 15-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went through a boarding school, right? And I'm writing about this. I went through a boarding school, right, where we were so regimented. Yet I'd listen to you guys and so many other bands, and mate, it felt like I'd been fucking given a shot of adrenaline. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just what I felt reinvigorated me. You know, and
wicked, man.
There are so many people that I think that I spoke to Phil Anselmo about it, actually. We had a quadrangle in the back of our boarding house, and we used to play handball, and we'd put on Vulgar Display of Power. And the housemaster, you know, an old Queensland rugby player, would do, shut that up, you know, crap, you know. We wait 5 minutes, then turn it back up again. You know? But that's the thing.
But yeah, that kind of attitude fires you up, though. Don't it? Turn that off. It's like, no, mate, I'm not turning that off. It makes it all more special for me. I mean, like when I was at school and I was a rocker, and I was the odd man out. That kind of became my badge, man. You know, you're telling me I'm weird. No, man, you're not weird. You're the sheep. You're following everything. I've got my own kind of identity here. I just love it, man.
Yeah, I remember reading about you guys in, was it Metal Hammer or Metal Maniacs? I used to read Metal Maniacs religiously. I think it was in there. And, you know, just looking at because, you know, there was nowhere to listen to interviews with you like there is these days, back in those days. Because, as to your point, you weren't interviewed by Australian media types, which is just nuts for me to sort of, because you do have fans down here. That's the thing. You do see people wearing your T-shirts around to this day. And old ones, too.
Man, I'd love to come down.
Faded ones, you know, like you know the old people like me who wear swap out our obituary T-shirts for a benediction T-shirt. You know what I mean? Like,
of course, same as I do.
Yeah, well, there you go, and yeah, it's just you got fans down here, and I just remembered looking at photos of you guys and just thinking, fuck, that looks cool. I want to do that one day. I want to be in a band like Benediction. It just you look at just listening to the music, reading the interviews in the magazine, and then looking at the photos, and it was your special place to go to. It was that sacred space that we all need, that third
Absolutely,
space,
I totally get it.
Space.
Totally understand that.
Yeah. Well, mate, thanks so much for the chat. Honestly, it's been awesome, and congratulations on an outstanding career. But just keep on doing what you're doing, please, because on the strength of scriptures, man, just mate, your career, mate. What happened before might be Act 1, if you know what I'm saying. We might have a couple more acts left to go.
Yeah, mate, it's kind of weird. We haven't been anywhere, but we're having a comeback. It's kind of nuts, man.
It is, mate. There's a whole bunch of young fans out there, mate, that are going to discover you guys and understand what true British grind is all about.
Yeah, man. Well, here comes the second wave, man. Let's get it on.
Absolutely, brother. Well, it's been fantastic having a chat. I really appreciate it, man.
No problem, mate. You keep in touch, and if there's any more questions or anything you need to know, you've got my number now.
Well, I'll get in touch with you when I want to send you the book. It'll be I'm just about to finish it, but I'll do the publishing thing, mate. But I'll reach out to you, mate, and happy to send you across the volumes. No worries.
That would be brilliant. That would be fantastic, man. And listen, like I said to you before, if you do know any promoters that fancy getting us down there, we'd be down there tomorrow. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I Dicey from Soundworks. Keep that name in mind. I'm going to be when I next talk to him, because I do bump into him sort of every few months or so, even over email. But I'll mention it absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic, sure. Man. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, brother. Really appreciate it, man. So all the best, and we'll catch up soon, no doubt.
Thank you, my friend. Keep in touch. Be good and be safe.
Likewise, brother. No worries. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No worries. Catch ya. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview featured British grind guitar god Daz Brookes from the outfit Benediction. Thanks so much for listening.